Oh, you're good? Okay. Why is it showing this other page though now? Oh well. Let's try this then. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out next time. I'm not sure what happened with you connecting that channel, but cool. Good to see you back. Hopefully you're recovered. Your presentation was amazing at Vegas. I think a lot of people got a lot of good takeaways from it. Did it go how you planned though? How was your presentation the way you wanted to kind of play out?
I got lost once. So I was kind of tripped out because the way I was presenting, I was the first presenter. And so, when you're the first presenter, there's always going to be figuring things out, like where do you stand? And I had a space where I was supposed to stand. So I had to read my slide because the talking point, right? I set it up so that it would flow correctly. But I was reading my main talking point and it was flipped. It was backwards because I was seeing from behind it off to the side. So that was a little bit tough. After that presentation, I think people learned from it. And so they actually went in front of it and it didn't block the view, which was the main concern. So, but it was good. Yeah, it was fun. And the most important thing, I think people got some good takeaways and I got to connect with a lot of folks. So that was awesome.
Cody is live streaming also on his channel, so go subscribe there, check it out, hit the like button, and I should be streaming both ways, portrait and landscape. So testing that out. It seems like the portrait mode gets a lot more viewership, so might stick with it for a while. But I did a couple kind of recap videos already with a lot of people that attended the event. I haven't spoke with someone that actually presented, so maybe you can fill us in as from a presenter standpoint. Would there be things that maybe Zuber can do better, or would you prepare differently if you were going to speak at another event for one round at a time, like from a presenter's standpoint, I should say?
The only thing I would do, so as far as like where I was standing, I just stood where I was told would be best. I should have stood where I felt the best. I think that would have been smarter. And at opening the event, like who knows how it's going to go. So I think it went really well overall. The event was very well structured. People stuck to timelines, and when they didn't, Zuber came in to stick to the timelines. So that's important. You don't want to get super far behind. But yeah, it was great. And if I were to do it again, only thing I would change is where I stand so that the flow goes a little better.
Well, like you kind of touched on in your presentation, it's all about maybe not necessarily pivoting, but always kind of evaluating your portfolio, maybe changing things. And just like your presentation, like you said, you would stand in a different place and now you have a little experience and even the facility, right? But I think that was the biggest takeaway. Like you said, your presentation initially, you're gonna speak upon how to get started, but then you kind of thought about maybe who the audience was gonna be, and you kind of pivoted. And then I think you really took a good approach and thought into what your presentation was going to be about. And for maybe anyone that's in the viewership or chat right now that didn't attend the event, maybe you can touch on what your presentation focused on.
Yeah, it was identifying where you're at and then taking the next step. And so realistically figuring out what do I have to do to get to where I want to go. A big part of that presentation and some of the one-offs I did, because we had that group with the teens for free. That's something that Michael put on for free for teenagers, is figuring out what you want. Because most people, even adults, they don't know what they want. Most people don't. So really honing in on what is it that if I had this type of life would make me happy. And for some people, it's different than others. It's different for everybody. So you got to figure out what you want first and then build the most efficient path to get there. And so for your lifestyle, could look like fewer rentals than mine or vice versa. And I really wanted to hone in on, okay, what do we want? What's the path to get there? How long is it going to take? What are the realistic expectations to get there? And then stay the course.
I think Curtis, who did receive a belt at the event, has a great point. He says, "Gotta get Ashley on stage or at least on a podcast. Her story is awesome." So, who is Ashley for those that may not know?
Ashley is my wife. She is my much better half.
And but I think you did do a recording with her. Is that correct? Or
We did not.
oh, you were
There's
supposed.
time constraints. Yeah.
Ah, Shucks. Well, definitely, yeah. We I think everyone would love to hear her story. I got a chance to meet her in person, and yeah, she's an amazing person. I think so. I do see Chris Wissing here. His son Logan was one of the teenagers at the event, and
Mhm.
on my other live stream the other day, Chris was saying that yeah, Logan is still talking about the event. His mind is just blown, and he took away a lot of great takeaways from the event. And what was your thoughts? Because Zuber also mentioned yesterday on a live stream that he maybe would like to have these teenagers that attended be on stage next year and kind of maybe give like a progress report over this next 11 months.
I think that'd be cool for the few that do it. Thinking back to when I was that age, I wouldn't have done that. Even if I did make progress, I wasn't going to be the one that would go up on stage. And if I was on stage, I definitely wasn't talking. So that and that
He did offer
idea,
them $100 to be on
I
stage.
wouldn't have done it for $1,000. I was so nervous. So I mean, there's going to be a couple of them. There's a few that I talked to that'll definitely go up for $100, but that wouldn't have been me.
I see Flavio saying you did a good presentation helping young and adult folks. And I want to give a quick shout out to Andy, Big Andy Dickens, who was at the event. He actually just put out his first video, I believe. I think he is starting his YouTube journey, talking about his journey, health, fitness, kind of family. But here is his channel. So if you are here and
That's
you
awesome.
please go jump on there and subscribe. But I did catch his video last night. So definitely help him out and get his subscriber count up so we can do some live streams with him. There also, while Cody, Big Cody Evers is here, he did have a question in one of our chats the other day. So maybe I'll just bring it up now quickly before we move on. But he is considering, shoots, where did that text message go? He has a duplex, an older duplex that cash flows really well. But would you sell it to kind of upgrade to a break even newer property?
If it doesn't fit your portfolio anymore, then yeah. And if it does fit your portfolio, then just refinance it and buy the newer property anyway.
I guess the big takeaway from the older cash flowing property is it's right where railroad in the backyard, and then the new one would be in a better area. But okay.
Well, if you want to keep growing, this is advice I was given from a gentleman who is wealthier than most folks. And if I mentioned his name, you and I would not both know him. But he was giving me advice years ago. And he said, if you want to build a portfolio, why are you selling? And you can make the argument of, well, I'm selling the old to buy the new. But if you want to grow a portfolio, you have to hold stuff for a long period of time. So my perspective would be, if I had an old duplex and it's cash flowing and I could refinance it and buy another property, as long as I don't make it an alligator and it still fits my property type, like my ideal scene, even though it's not as ideal as the brand new. If I could do both, I'd do both. Today, I look at what are the properties that, yeah, I could hold it, but it doesn't need to be in my long-term vision. Got me here. I can axe that. Then yeah, I'd sell it. So I sold an old sixplex, similar to that example, and I bought a brand new seven. I could not have refinanced it and bought the seven, so I sold it to get where I wanted to go. The old sixplex was, it got me here, but it really wasn't in my long-term vision. So if it's not in your long-term vision, you can axe it, but your wealth is typically built by holding more than you sell.
I think this won't make that much of a difference, but it just said Cody is saying currently the current property has a 3.15% mortgage rate. Let's see.
Okay. Well, I mean, that would not be a decision maker for me at all. And that's probably the only reason you're cash flowing. So, yeah, I mean, if you can axe that and get into a new, nicer property and still cash flow, then maybe you do that. That's probably the only reason it cash flows, being at 315. And I point out, people are like, well, I can't sell this or I can't refinance this because it's a really low rate. When you're growing up, you're like, I never heard anybody say, I want to have $1 million of debt at 3%. That's not what people want. People want the end result, the cash flow or the liquidity or the net worth, whatever it is for them. They're not, oh, I have all this debt at this low rate. It's like, what does it get you? So if you can get something better from a higher interest rate, that would be foolish to not look into.
Before we go back to maybe a little bit on your presentation at the event, Harrison Trade Better 99, who unfortunately had to cancel his plans to come to the event, but he's asking Cody, what are your thoughts on properties next to railroads?
I own a 27 unit next to a railroad. I have a sixplex kind of near a railroad. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, the main thing is, do I have enough people that are willing to pay me rent to live there? Like, you could have great tenants and they're just not in an economic class to live somewhere else. But it's like, if you have enough demand for those units, sure, buy next to a railroad. But there's going to be people of every economic class, and they're going to live where they can afford to live. And so if there's a lot of inventory elsewhere, they may not choose to live in your railroad property. So that's a consideration, and that's going to come down to doing your due diligence on your market. People don't really care about it in my market.
And I think, kind of going back to your presentation a little bit, that kind of was to where you take action. This may not be a property that you're going to hold long term or ideal for your overall portfolio, but it's something that's going to maybe get your foot in the door, kind of get some pieces on the playing board, and then you can always, like you saying, upgrade it or change the plan a little bit. But I think if it's a performing asset, right, and for some people that's maybe what's going to get them into the game, I would definitely consider it. But your presentation, you opened the event. Did the weight feel heavier than you thought it would be?
No, I mean, I've, I've done a lot of presentations. I was excited to be there. That was my first time really presenting in that community. I was at the Fresno event, and that was 4 years ago, somewhere in there. But I've done a lot of them, and so I actually reviewed my slides more than once, which is more than I've ever done before. So I figured it would go okay, and leaned on the Q&A at the end, so that was fun. But I really enjoyed it and was gracious of Zuber to give me the opportunity to present first.
Did anyone come up to you afterwards and say something that stuck with you?
I got the biggest takeaways from the kids, so like the teenagers. They were all over the place. Some were super shy, had to really open up ideas, get them to open up and start sharing, which happens more often than not. But there was a few that one of them was like, I want to make $1 million a month. I'm not there yet, but like, of course you're not there yet. But they had a different ideas of what life costs, and so some of those takeaways were interesting. It's like, where are you getting your information? Thinking that life costs $500,000 a year, like it was kind of comical, but it's fun to see where they're at.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember if it was you discussing it or Zuber was talking with the three amigos, but kind of, a lot of these teenagers might say, I need, $10 million and that's my goal. And then you ask them, okay, break it down. Like, like, why do you need $10 million? And they start breaking it down. And they realize, like, oh, I probably don't need $10 million for the lifestyle that I want. Disagreement. So I think like you said, your presentation initially was going to focus on how to get started, and you kind of changed it to that maybe 5 years of stuff, that in between phase. But why do you think the mid game or this mid journey is maybe the most dangerous part of it than the beginning part?
So the mid game's tough because it's not linear, right? So you feel like you're halfway through, you should be halfway to the goal, but you're not. Like 5 years in is I'm probably like, now I'm 7 years in, but when I was 5 years in, I'll probably be worth 20 to 30% of what I would be at year 10. And my cash flow would be just a fraction of what it would be at year 10. Even though the first 5 years were a big grind and I was doing everything right to the extent that I could, if I kept doing the same thing, my cash flow, my net worth, my asset quality would be significantly better at year 10. It's just not linear. So it makes it very difficult to stay the course, because even if you're doing everything right with the pieces you have, even with Dion, right? His cash flow didn't really start to explode till you're 7, 8, 9, 10, even though he was doing everything right in years 1 through 5. So it's tough because you feel like you should be further ahead and you're not.
Yeah, definitely. I think Curtis, who's in the chat, kind of made a comment something about that. I think his next house hack is house hack number three. Oh, house hack numbers look different for purchase number three. Disrespectful offers incoming, he says. Harrison also says, Cody, oh wait, it's not that one. Sorry, I read that one. He says, Cody, have you thought of doing a speaking tour? I could see you selling out private schools.
If I had an opening for that, I'd look at it. I've never really had the opportunity, but giving back and teaching youth is that's how you build a better future. Starts with doing it yourself and then sharing it with youth. So I think that's what Zuber is realizing is like if you don't share it with the youth, your brand dies when you do. So that'd be cool being able to help out there. But I've never had an opening for that. And if one did present itself, I'd be there.
Something I took away from your presentation also was I think you said when you first maybe met Zuber, you thought you knew everything, and then after you kind of realized you didn't know much. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of why I think a lot of people relate to you even more now, just because it seems like you are open to learning and taking a lot of people's advice. So was that, do you think the early part of your journey, was it kind of maybe ego driven, like the amount of units or how huge your portfolio was, or you just thought it was the best way for you?
Well, it was the best way for me. Given the pieces that I had, more was better at that time. And there was also an element of confidence that I needed to have in order to do the deals that I did. I, there's truths in everything that I said. There was just some practical, real world stuff that I didn't understand. But something that was true is the confidence that I had when I was talking with owners came from the learning lessons I got from other owners. That was huge. And the confidence that I had when I was talking with these owners is what got me the debt terms that I got. I truly believed that the debt had to be the way it had to be in order to do the deal. And that conveyed to the other party. And so I got deals that frankly I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. But there was a level of maturity that I didn't have, which I couldn't have had at that point in time, too. So I did more than I had to do. But there's bits of good in every story, there's bits of bad, and overbuying was on the bad side. But if I didn't have that level of confidence and trust in the stories that I heard from other owners, there's a 0% chance I would have bought the deals I bought and learned the lessons I did. So it was important. I'm better off for it.
I think Zuber also touched on, when he's putting together the presentation, he always struggles with maybe the speakers, like who he's gonna try and get, because he doesn't want to bring too many different maybe strategies in play. Like he wants to keep it interesting for people to get a lot of information, but he also doesn't want to have people kind of like chasing that shiny object, right? Could you see that as a challenge also, putting together some sort of event like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You got to be on brand. It would not be on brand if Dave Ramsey had me speak and then had one of the folks under him speak. That wouldn't make sense. So you don't want to have too many options, but you also have to have a balance of showing what's possible. So you have to show a little bit of what's possible without tanking the brand. You wouldn't want to bring someone to speak that says more is better if more isn't better, which that would be against the brands. Like just doing more to have more is not one rental at a time.
So after hearing your presentation, maybe what behavior do you hope people stop doing after hearing your talk?
Building a business to impress people that don't care about them. It's the idea that Dave Ramsey shares of don't buy a car to impress people for 20 seconds at a stoplight that you'll never meet, right? Like that would be stupid. So do what you want to do. Find a way to do it. There is a way to do it. So don't build a business that you think you need to build to impress people who don't actually care about you. I've got buddies who are doing that right now. It's tragic. It might work, but the odds of failure are higher than success in that game. So you just kind of hope it works for them.
After talking to a lot of people, probably lunch, dinner at the event, do you think this event accelerated people's timelines or kind of just maybe simply clarified to them what their vision is?
I think it helps clarify expectations that it is a decade. You don't really speed up the decade. I, I was just watching a podcast before this, and it was really funny because it was another younger guy, similar to my age, who built a similarly sized portfolio in a cheaper market. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to get to super wealthy in X amount of years before a decade." And it's like, have fun. It's so it's so tough to do that. So I think whenever you start your decade long journey, for the folks who are on the sideline who haven't started yet, I think, yeah, that'll help. The event will help start that. But the amount of people that can do it faster than a decade, this small, like it doesn't happen very often without a shaky foundation. So I don't think it'll speed up the decade, but it will get the people off the sidelines. It's my take.
Life Unruled says we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like.
Yeah. Even if you have the money, doesn't fix that equation.
If Cody Davis of year one of his journey heard Cody Davis's presentation at the event, do you think you would have taken away anything at that time, or it kind of would have maybe just blew it off a little bit? Your presentation.
I would have kept doing what I was doing. That was right for me back then. Yeah. And if I, it's tough. I just would have done it different. Like maybe I would not have done the 12, but if I hadn't done the 12, I probably wouldn't have been in that room anyway. So it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. I had to do things the way I did it. I had to do it 3.5 hours from where I lived and pick that market. And if I was doing it in state, like it's a tough question. Not sure.
Let's see. Ooh, what behavior do you hope people double down on?
Clarifying what they want. Yeah. Because once you figure out what you want, you map out the steps. You decide, do I want to do this for that or not? Makes it super simple. Like right now, I'm trying to build liquidity. And so I'm flipping a house. And appraisal came up. And I know it's at the end of the carrot at the end of the stick is a payday. So appraiser flagged a bunch of stuff. And so I had to put a TPR valve on an old water heater. I'm like, okay, I'll go buy that. I guess I have to do that. And then where it would have inserted was corroded and broken, so I couldn't do that. So I was like, okay, the only steps between me and this payday are figuring out how to fit a 40-gallon water heater in my Tesla, how to get it home to this house, and how to install it. And if I can do all that, I can get my payday. Like once you know what you want, you map out the steps. And if it's worth it to you, you do it. And if you realize the steps are too long for the end goal, you don't do it. And so to get it in my car, because I didn't have anybody who could have helped me at that time, I took it out of the box. Unfortunately, I left the box at Home Depot. So sorry to whoever had to, because it doesn't really fit in the car. I have the smallest version because that's what was most affordable. And so the box hopefully got picked up yesterday. But I just threw a water heater in my car and slid it in. It was just me, and did the paid Chat GPT talk, the talking voice. You can talk back and forth. And I was like, okay, walk me through this, and put in a water heater, and it worked. So now the re-inspections today at 10 a.m. A couple hours, get it done, get it sold, and get the payday. But I knew what I wanted. So back to your question, the skill you got to double down on is knowing exactly what you want and then being able to map out the next steps. Because if you don't know what you want, you can't know what the steps are. And if you know what you want, but you don't know the steps, you can't act on it. I knew the steps, and I was willing to figure that out at, to get the payday. But if the payday wasn't big enough, I would have just been like, I'll just, whatever, I'll keep the house. I'll just let it do what it wants. I won't put the TPR valve in. I'll be non-compliant. I'll just rent it. Oh, so I'm not saying I'll do that, but you get the idea.
uh, Flavio's tuning in from your channel. He says, Cody, next time I would charge you half.
Oh, there we go. I'll charge you half off first month rent too.
And for those that don't know, Flavio showed his commitment and how much he wanted to be at the event and meet people in person. And he drove down there. I think it was 13-hour, 16-hour drive, right? Both ways. And so yeah, he made the effort and he showed up, and I think he had a great time. It was great meeting him in person. And he is a sleeper. People don't realize Flavio is doing a lot of cool stuff, and he's kind of behind the scenes on things. Troy Roberts says, Cody, what is your 10-year plan look like compared to 5 years ago?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So it'll happen faster than 10 years from now, but part of the 10-year goal is to move to a place called Gig Harbor, which it's basically the nicer side of the bridge from where I grew up. So it's a little bit less ghetto than Tacoma. For those who know Tacoma, a little rough around the edges. Don't run around at night. So I would move to the other side of the bridge, and so my wife and I mapped out what that costs. I'd like to have a house over there that has additional dwelling units for family members to live in full time. Would like to have, in 10 years from now, only properties built after the year. It'll probably be 2000, 2010, somewhere in there. So upgrade the quality of the asset, which means I'll have to sell out of the whole older portfolio to do so. But within 10 years, I've already owned some of these properties 6 years, 7 years. Yeah, people know Tacoma. They know it's ghetto. So I survived childhood. No, it was fine. I was able to walk home, not get mugged, but there's parts of Tacoma that are super ghetto. So move back, have only newer properties. So there's going to have to be a time where I'm just like, all right, bite the bullet, sell it. I'm looking at selling some of my older stuff now. Some of my properties have extra land, so I'm building right now. So I'm optimizing for highest and best use. And the lowest use properties, I'll probably just sell at discounts over a decade. And if I can't sell it, I'll hold a little longer until I can sell it at a point that it makes sense. And they're all income producing real estate. So I guess it's just a waiting game. But transition out of the old into the new and go from there.
You guys aren't all going to follow Dion and Millennial Mike out of Washington. Seems like they're both 1 foot out the door already.
They can do whatever they want, but Washington's beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's the hard part for a lot of people in California also, right? A lot of people are there and they have their own problems, but like you're saying, right, it's where else, has that much beauty around them, right? So it is a trade-off, definitely.
Yeah, and if you let politics control your life, then you're gonna know where you want to go. Like you're gonna pick your state. But I'd like to think I can become rich enough where I don't have to have politics control my life. If I make a little bit less money at that point, So what? But there's a journey to get there. So I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, Life on Road says I'm running for the door. Ryan says he's in Portland, Washington. Pacific Northwest is amazing, though. He says. Did you get a chance to? I know you were spending a lot of time with the teenagers, so I'm not sure if you were able to catch a lot of the presentations yet. Was there anyone that stood out to you that presented also?
I didn't get to hear a lot of them, to your point. Unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. The first and the second day, I was either presenting, doing podcasts, or networking with folks. The second day, I was there until probably 1 or 2 p.m. Then we had to go. So I missed Mr. Pace, but we had to jet out of there. And in the morning, I was doing a lot of the networking. That's the day we did the teenager networking group for a few hours instead of an hour. It ran 2.5 or so. So I didn't get to hear a whole lot. It's kind of like Dion in that sense. He was in the back rooms doing his thing, and so was I.
Like I mentioned earlier, Cody is also streaming on his YouTube channel, so go jump over there and subscribe and like. And he's also doing live streams with Justin Canberra on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific. And like I mentioned earlier, Lauren, Elaine, and Andy have new YouTube channels they're starting. And Lauren also just interviewed Zuber, so I'm not sure when that one's going to be coming out. I see Lynn tuning in. She did receive a belt also at the event. But Troy Roberts says, Cody, how do you approach conversations with owners these days versus 5 years ago? How often are you contacting new owners these days?
Well, unless there's someone that's bought here that like they just bought here, I've talked to every owner of small to mid-sized multifamily in my market. Everyone. So there's not a single owner that I haven't at least touched base with once for small to mid-sized apartments. And so my buy box really honed in. So it's a different conversation. It's a catch-up meeting rather than an intro meeting. If I were to start in a new market today, it would be much easier having the credibility of my market and my experience, but I would probably lean more on the broker route now that I have the experience because if I did the owner call, when you make an owner call, the main thing is you have to bring up a relatable point and a goal. And the relatable point gets you into the room, and then the goal gets people to want to work with you. And so if I was calling an owner, the relatable point was, hey, I saw you own some apartments in Ellensburg. I own some stuff in Moses Lake. And that would be my point to get them from hanging up. They'd be like, what's up? It's like, well, I'm trying to figure out how to bridge over to Ellensburg. I saw you were pretty established. I have a goal of branching out. I said, well, I'm not selling right now. It's like, well, that's okay. I am looking to buy, but I haven't really honed in my buy box yet. I was hoping to meet with folks like yourself who are established there to learn spots to avoid. Could we grab coffee? And that's how I would have to spin it now. It's much easier when you already own some stuff. But I would probably run it the broker route because for more established properties I'm trying to upgrade into, all the owners have a broker. For some of the stuff I got started with, they didn't, or they were a broker. So I would try and lean on the broker relationship today.
Troy also asks, I'm with or says, I'm with you, Cody. I love the Pacific Northwest area where I live, but don't care for the politics, but you get that everywhere to some degree. Chris Wissing, who's in California, says, yes, what Cody said about letting politics run your life is true. Living in California and investing here has not been a horror show, and in the area I'm in. Yes, well deserved belt for Lynn, definitely. Alex, the accidental investor, says, yeah, my side of the bridge. uh, okay. Harrison has he says, who stood out to you the most while networking in Vegas, Cody?
Mm, it was fun to. I've never networked with Matt, the lumberjack. Never networked with him before. So that was interesting to me.
Let me think. I'm not real. I'll think about it. But let's see. There's another question for you, real fast. Yeah, Rusty's saying Mark in his bright colored shirts. Uh, yeah, they're not gonna move to Hammond yet. Joe V, knock it off. A life on roads has come to Portland. You'll change your mind. Let me think. Who networking? I think Curtis is great at networking. I think he does an amazing job. He's very approachable, and he can talk to a lot of different people. Alex did a great job. I think Alex, I got to hang out with him on Monday after the event. There were still some stragglers in Vegas, but he had like his list of certain individuals that he wanted to connect with and meet. He had a list. So I think that's a great way to come into the event. Right, there's these certain people that I want to make sure that I get to connect with, and so Alex did a great job networking. Flavio does say the owners are really open to talk after the advice that Cody gave me in Vegas. Ooh, to talk to a lady in my area. Thanks. Oh, is this a secret advice, or can we hear the advice you gave Flavio?
I'd have to remember what advice I gave Flavio to give it to you. I I've given my opinion plenty of times. Some people listen to it and enjoy it, and some people don't listen to it. So to each their own. But the nice thing is you don't have to remember what you said if you tell the truth. So I mean, I could give you ideas, but I don't know if it's the exact one that Flavio or I gave Flavio. I don't know.
Joe V, who probably will be able to attend the event now that it's in January, but he couldn't make it this year because it was his father-daughter dance, and he said he's never gonna miss that. So hopefully Joe V will make it in January. But he says, did Cody commit to year 4 yet?
Yeah, as long as Zuber has me back, I'm there. No, we're good to go. So I think Ashley will be talking to the teens as well.
Nice.
So we're deep diving the what the structure is going to be. It sounds like it's going to be a 4 hour
Oh,
potentially
that's right. Yeah.
ordeal with 4 different speakers, 2 females, 2 guys, and so we'll see.
Yes, and if those don't know, and a lot of you I see in the chat are in school, Ashley also joined school, so you can also follow her there. And if you have any questions for her, you can also shoot her a message, I'm sure. But yes, year 4, I know a lot of people were hoping or thinking that Anna Kelly would be able to attend because she can never make it in February because I believe it's her daughter's like volleyball tournament weekend type of thing. And I guess Zuber messaged her right after he committed to January. And apparently her son, though, has some basketball or another tournament. So her attending January may not be possible also. But I heard that name as one that a lot of people would like to see. People also mentioned Bruce Norris, but it sounds like Bruce Norris doesn't travel very much anymore. So Zuber's not sure about that one. But for yourself, is there anyone that you hope maybe Zuber could get? Because I know he's also feeling like maybe he made a mistake by trying to get the big names, so he might be reevaluating that. And yeah,
I like the idea of bringing in folks from the community that are doing it and have done it. I think just he could build an event off of that. No need to expand out. I mean, if he wants to keep expanding out, great. But there's enough well off folks who know what they're talking about in the community. And as the community grows, there will be more folks to talk.
yeah. I think if I had to pick, I definitely hope Coach Carson can make a return. I definitely liked getting to meet him and interact with him year 1. And I think if we can, I think a lot of people want to see Thatch. Thatch is another name I hear quite often. They would like to see at the event. But we got the next best, right? We got Justin Canberra, right? He's a big part of Thatch's community also. So maybe Justin. So that would be my 2 votes. I know Zuber was also tossing around the idea that the people in the school community could kind of nominate their 3 people in the community that they'd like to hear speak. And I think Justin is one I mentioned. Emily Lopez is another one, and even Lynn I would love to hear on stage. So those would be my 3 picks as of now. Troy says, so Cody, this is pretty common thing that I see in the community. is that many manipulate cash flow when underwriting properties in order to make them feel like the property is a good deal. What can you what can you tell investors? Oh, here. What can you tell investors that will make them um, or how to effectively underwrite a property to not lose it?
Yeah, so you need to just underwrite. Typically, the things I look at for my stuff are debt coverage ratio, like conservative debt coverage ratio. I've talked about this with Mike, but basically what you're looking at is you have your total rental income for the year. Let's say it's for a property 200,000, and your operating expenses, which would be taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, utilities. Even if you're self-managing, you should use a management fee, which is par for the area. You add all that up, not capex, but just your standard operational expenses, and then you subtract that out, and so maybe you go from 200,000 of gross income to $120,000 of what's called net operating income, and that would be your cash flow if you paid cash. So your debt coverage ratio, what you should be underwriting to is, how much is that NOI, that net operating income number, above and beyond my annual debt payments. So if my debt payments were 100,000 and my NOI was 120,000 in that example on conservative underwriting, then I would have a 1.2 debt coverage ratio because my NOI was 1.2 times the debt cost. So what that really means is it takes you 5 months to save an extra mortgage payment. So you're kind of just skirting by. So on my deals, I like to be at a 1.5 or better. So it means if the debt cost was 100,000, I'd like my net operating income to be 150,000. So I'm cash flowing 50 grand a year, or every month I make a payment, I save half a mortgage payment. That's how the math works. That's how I would recommend folks consider underwriting. And but I try and get to the 1.5 within 12 to 18 months. And if I can't get there in 12 to 18 months, really 18, then I'm typically not going to do the deal. There's always exceptions to that. Like if I can get land control next to it, I'm at a 1.2 or 1.3, so be it. But the closer you get to one, the closer you are to not really making any money. You're breaking even, and that's not a place you want to be.
Let's see. Oh, Ryan's asking me to make videos on. It's pretty simple. My friend was investing in Pittsburgh before me, and that's kind of why I piggybacked off of him. And I think that is the thing that I hear. A lot of people at the event are, possibly looking for a market to start in or looking for a market to pivot to. And then when you ask them, do you know anyone there, or who, they have no resources there, and I think that's going to set you up for failure. So I definitely feel like if you are going to change markets or look at a different market, I think definitely having other people that are investing, or especially if they're in the ORAC community and they're investing there, I think that would be a great resource to kind of piggyback off of. Jovi, no, I am not gonna present. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I have more fun. I tell everyone I am the front of the house kind of guy. I'm not the back. I like to just network and have fun and make sure everyone's interacting. And a lot of the outside events, I think a lot of people enjoy this every year. It seems to be getting better, a little more organized. We have a little more outside activities. We're kind of finding these certain places where it's people are getting out, but it's not super noisy too. So we're not like on the strip or anything where people can't hear each other talk and communicate. So, like the container park was a great place. The beer park is another great venue. Let's see. Oh yeah, I would love to see Derek Sherrill back, that ADU guy. Yeah, Coach Carson, Taro Yarber, and Jesse Vasquez. Okay, those are some great names. If anyone else has thoughts on maybe the community, like who they want, like I said, mine is Lynn, Emily, and Justin. But if anyone else has thoughts for the community speakers, maybe throw that in there. Let's see. Lars is here. Good morning. He was at the event.
Danielle McElroy could be a good one. I've met with her. Um,
Did you mention that too? I know someone brought that up. Well, because someone I think mentioned Ken McElroy, and then they were kind of like, well, his message doesn't relate as much as Daniil's one. So, like, but Zuber said, yeah, like I think he asked her actually for year three, and she declined. So I think that's going to be another one he's going to try and um, get there to speak in year four.
I mean, I could reach out and see because I mean, I've talked with both of them and checked out their office. They know what they're doing. But the reason I brought her up rather than her husband Ken is because she is, like you mentioned, a little bit more relatable. I mean, there are folks who can get to where Ken's at, but that takes decades and decades of discipline. That not a lot of people they don't want to commit to doing that at that scale. So
Uh,
she'd probably be more relatable.
yeah, and I think you do recordings with Zuber on Monday, so that might be something you can bring up to him also that you've connected with her and you've connected with
Well,
Cody.
I haven't in probably 6 months, but you know, we
At least you
could
have
try.
an in. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Derek, I know is always busy, but I think he was in year one, spoke at year one, and he would definitely be a great resource with everyone trying to look at the kind of ADU option nowadays. But he's dialed into to what he's working on. Let's see. Oh, is there anything that you didn't get a chance to say on stage? Like kind of a maybe uncomfortable truth you didn't have time to say on stage?
Well, I didn't get to break down anything like math. I didn't feel like opening an event with math was a very smart move. That'd probably be a more niche group setting rather than opening a presentation. But I figured out just about every way to spin a number to make a deal work. So I didn't share anything on that.
Okay, if someone is in the messy middle right now and feels stuck, what's the one decision they need to confront? Did we go over that one? We did, yeah.
We went over
Yeah, we
that.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is scratching the plan a sign of failure or maturity?
Is what?
Is scratching the plan a sign of failure or maturity?
Depends how long you've stuck to the plan. If you've only stuck to the plan for 6 months, you either have a terrible plan or you have a commitment issue.
Hmm. Yeah.
If you've been doing it for 6 years, you probably have a terrible plan or an execution issue. So, it just depends where you're at.
Hyder says he'll reach out to Daniil also. Curtis, like I mentioned, he did receive a belt at the event. He says he has 20K cash and 21K reserves. What should be my next move?
What do you want to do? I've bought properties for $4.5 million. I've done, I mean, that's my biggest purchase to date as of now, but I bought that when I had less money than you do. I wouldn't recommend you do that, but you could. Like, what do you want to do? If you want to go buy a duplex, it doesn't take money to buy real estate. It doesn't take your own, I should say. So if you know what you want, your next move should be building out a plan to do that with what you have.
Uh, Shoots, where was it? Harris, yeah, Aaron Foster. No, he's not. He's not allowed in Vegas. He'll get arrested, guarantee. No, Aaron's another firefighter. He's in the northeast area, but he's a riot. I love having him on when I can get him on. But yeah, definitely. I think that was another big takeaway from your presentation. I think you said after I forget what point it was in the process, but you showed like your bank account, right? Like this is how much I had in my bank account at the time,
Oh yeah,
right?
it wasn't a lot of money for those who are wondering. It was like $1.25.
Yeah, I think that caught a lot of people. I think off guard, right? I think you might have been at what 200 units or doors at that.
No,
No,
no. I was at like that was 5 years ago. I probably had 80 rentals, maybe 100 rentals.
but yes, it wasn't very much.
It wasn't a lot of money, but Yeah, the thing is, like, if you're willing to get creative, you can always find a way. I could have borrowed more money to have a bigger bank account balance. Like there was ways to maneuver pieces. But I remember taking that screenshot and I was like, ha, I gamed this perfectly because I think I had like a 6-figure injection, like 100 something the next day. But I was like, I gamed this perfectly and it all worked out. Like it didn't have to work out, but it was pretty fun.
Uh,
It's a game, right? I mean, at that point, I was 21, so it was just a game.
I see CJ Underwood here, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it in year three also, but I believe I think he messaged me the other day. He just closed on a 33 unit recently, but he says, Cody, can you talk about roofing you were doing? I think you were rolling out TPO, but curious about that process, cost, why, etc. Don't have to answer here, but trying to learn more about flat roofing.
Yeah, so I would do TPO if it were me rather than like torch down. I like TPO. Some people like different stuff. I prefer that. But also I prefer not having a flat roof. So if you can avoid flat roof, that's better just to avoid it altogether. I've converted flat roofs to pitch roofs. Got it engineered to have trusses on it, rolled out the trusses. I didn't do that, but I paid to have that happen. So I'm not a roofer like that, but I'd avoid flat roofs if you can. If you can't, I would do the conversion to a pitch on my stuff or do TPO.
So,
And it does cost a lot of money. I spent over 100,000 converting my flat roofs to pitched roofs. I did a flat roof, all new TPO on a motel I used to own. That was like 73 grand. That was for a 30 unit motel, and that's a 2-story walk up. So you can imagine it's 15. It's like an L building, the traditional motel. And so that was about 73,000 here in Washington State. New insulation, a little bit of new OSB, and that was 2 years ago.
sorry, someone's messaging me. They just stopped at Bucky's, so I'm getting all these messages. But have you been to Bucky's before? Bucky's is amazing.
I have been.
Every time someone goes there, I'm getting a because I they know I love Bucky's now. So every time someone stops there, they're sending me pictures of being at a Bucky's. Let's see here. SKREI asks, "What's your take on buying for appreciation in Bay Area versus cash flow in the Midwest?"
I buy it based on cash flow for equity growth. I've done that since the very beginning. So I'm buying based on the income, and he disappeared. Oh well. So I buy based on the income, but I'm buying for the forced appreciation value that I can control. Now, there's a time where I'm not doing that. There's a time where I'll just buy to own newer stuff. So, like, I'm not buying to get the forced appreciation when I buy my brand new stuff. If I wanted to get that, I would build new stuff, which I am doing that too. But in the beginning, buy based on cash flow for equity growth. That is the way that I lived. And that's the reason I was able to build a decent net worth and not lose it in the process. If you buy just for one, it can be hard to get the other.
Just a little add on to the question that CJ had about the roof. He says, idea of square footage on the flat conversion."
It was, oh, I don't remember. I used to know. It was a whole bunch of squares because they do it by squares. It was two side by side sixplexes. I could find it somewhere, but each building was 3,000 square feet because each unit was 475 square feet. And then there was like a 300 square foot storage unit. So, whatever that equates to, it was a lot of money.
Troy Roberts says, "I'd like to see a panel of investors that are specialized in a specific strategy like co-living, creative acquisition, burr, fix and flip to buy and hold. Also love to have a panel or a presentation with a very successful unicorn agent that was more Q&A oriented. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to say about the event?
I look forward
Take.
to the next one. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be really interesting to see where people are at in a year. I have no idea where we're going to be at in a year, so it'll be fun to see how that goes. We have some hurdles to overcome, so hopefully we don't get slapped in the face too hard. But it should be fine. It's just going to be good to get back together with everybody.
Yeah, so I think that's a great way to SKREI's question is, how are you optimizing your real estate portfolio now? What are you getting out and getting into in 2026?
Well, I'm not going to get out entirely, but I am looking at the option. So, well, we'll see. I'm looking at the option of selling some of my 1950s buildings and repositioning it into 2022 apartments. So much newer stuff, double the rent that I'm charging, but much newer, and I'll have a few less units. The other opportunity I have is to double down on what I've done. There's a large property adjacent to my already medium sized property. So I could basically double down the portfolio that I built with old stuff, but have a massive assemblage. And so I have the idea of more doors without taking on partners, but more doors, one location that further optimizes the buildings that I have. It could bring down the total cost. I could have an on-site person, and so we'll see whichever one happens. It'll be interesting to see. Kind of like Matt, he could go up to 300, he could go down to 100. It's like, well, mine might do the same thing. I might go down to like 70 units brand new, or I might go up to 300 of the similar age. Like, I just don't know. It depends which one sticks first, but economies of scale would help optimize what I've got going on so I could move back to the west side, and also consolidating down more of Dion's strategy. If that one sticks first, then I could do the same thing. So it's like less maintenance, less properties, or more maintenance, but more doors in one location, on-site management. So those are the ways that it will go. One of the two.
Yeah, I think the event was great. I think a lot of people got a lot of great information there. And even from the health side, I heard a lot of people talking after the event. That is something they're going to kind of focus on in 2026. So we may see a lot of slimmer faces in 2027. I think that's a lot of people's goals they're putting on the table also, and realizing that the financial side is important, but also maybe they've let their health slip a little bit in part of the journey. But yeah,
Yeah, I watched Zuber's video of the push-ups. I think he did 61. That's what he was saying. And so I was like, I haven't done push-ups for reps in a long time, so I tried it. I'm down a long ways from where I was. I was getting real tired at 50, and I used to be able to do over 80 without stopping. And so I'm gonna get back up to that.
I,
So that
I believe there's going to be a push-up challenge you're talking about in at the year four event 2027. So
I'll
uh,
make sure I'm ready to win that one.
I don't know, man. Zuber may not let you win, man. I don't know. But SKREI says, what's your biggest lesson from partnering with others to buy real estate? What's your mind at now about partnering? So we'll use this as the last question, and we'll wrap things up after this. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
As kindly as I can put this, and I truly mean that, as kindly as I can. People suck. That is my biggest lesson from partnering with people on real estate. People are selfish. I'm not saying everybody is, but to an extent, everybody is. You have to prioritize your independent needs over someone else's in time of hardship. And so the idea of people suck, I used to say that, and my wife would get so mad at me. But then she started doing business with other people. She's like, oh, yeah, people do suck. It's not like they suck as an individual. It's just partnerships are very difficult. And so you have to be careful who you get into partnership with. There are some people that should just remain friends, and they shouldn't be partners. Same goes for family. So that was my biggest lesson from partnerships, having done a whole bunch of them. I will still do that, but if I'm doing a partnership, there has to be a clear person in the driver's seat. And if there's not, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I think that's what Dion always talks about too, right? Like, have you ever seen how people are, right? So that, yeah, that's definitely a challenge. But like Cody says, it's hard to get people on the same page. I mean, initially you might be, but as things start progressing, everyone's true colors or different colors might show in different parts, different phases in their life. Troy Roberts says he's going to be part of the push-up challenge. R skip the rest race. Good morning. Ryan's like push-up challenge, huh? He wants to do a bench press. All right,
How about handstand push-up challenges or planche push-up? Well, we can make it
all right.
hard.
All the Eagles are coming out now. Everyone. All right. Let's get Janelle's question in here. Janelle's a big part of the school community. She was unable to attend the event, but she says, "Are the properties you're looking at already on the market, or do you reach out to the owners to see if they consider selling? If you're reaching out directly, what do you usually say to them?"
So both. I've bought a lot of stuff on the MLS. I bought a lot of stuff off market. I always start my intro call as, hey, I'm a property neighbor, which is true because I own a property in almost every neighborhood of my market. So that helps. Also, small town things. It's not that hard to own in every neighborhood. But that's how I start it. I try and book a coffee meeting. Earlier in the call, we actually did a little role play of how that played out. It only lasted like 30 seconds, but I walked through my general pitch of reaching out to an owner. And I've done so many videos on that. So I'd recommend you watch that in the long form because I break it down more. If you look up Cody Davis owner calls, you'll probably find a video or 10 on it.
All right. Ground fighting. All right, everyone's Eagles are coming out now, but yeah. So there is Cody's YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, Janelle, he like he said, he probably has some videos on that. And yeah, to Lynn's point, right? I agree. I think partnerships are really hard to work out. I mean, just look at marriages; only half stay together. Absolutely. All right, last one, then and we'll wrap it up. So he said, SKREI said, which market do you own properties in again?
I'm in Central Washington primarily. I have stuff out of state. I have stuff out of market in Washington State, but bulk of my stuff is here in Central Washington.
All right. Thanks for doing it. I'm glad I got to meet you again in Vegas. I know we met in Hawaii one time, but I'm glad I got to meet you and your wife Ashley. It was amazing. I think you did a great presentation, and it was a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll get to spend a little more time with the common folks next time. You won't have to rush out so soon out of Vegas.
We'll be there. It'll be good.
All right. Thanks for doing this. And everyone, like I said, look out for Justin and Cody on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific. They're also live streaming. All right. Thanks, man. I'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Okay.
See ya.